You are sitting at home, working 40 hours a week, saving a little here and there, and yet somehow the gap between you and the wealthy just keeps growing. It does not shrink. It does not stay the same. It grows. And if you have ever wondered why, the answer is not luck. It is not inheritance. It is not even hard work. The answer is a silent, invisible, unstoppable force that the wealthy figured out long ago and most people never truly understand. That force is compound interest. And today we are going to break it down completely, because once you see how this works, you cannot unsee it. Let us start at the very beginning, because compound interest is one of those things that sounds simple but hides an almost terrifying amount of power underneath the surface. Simple interest is straightforward. You put in money, you earn a percentage on that money, and that percentage stays fixed to your original amount every single time. Compound interest is different. With compound interest, you earn returns not just on your original amount, but on every single dollar your money has already earned. Your gains start generating their own gains. Your earnings start earning. And that process, when left alone long enough, creates something that looks almost impossible. Albert Einstein allegedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he truly said it or not, the sentiment is completely accurate. Because here is what most people miss. Compound interest does not feel powerful in the short term. In year 1, year 2, even year 5, it looks almost boring. The numbers do not seem impressive, but somewhere in the middle, something shifts. The curve bends upward, and then it bends again. And before long, your money is doing more work in a single year than you did in the first decade combined. Now let us talk about why the rich understand this differently than most people do. When the average person thinks about money, they think linearly. They trade time for money. They earn, they spend, they save a little, and they repeat. The wealthy think in a completely different dimension. They think geometrically. They think in terms of multiplication over time. And the single most important thing they do is they start early, they stay consistent, and they never interrupt the process. Here is something that will change the way you think forever. Imagine two men. The first man starts putting away money at the age of 20, and he does this every single month without fail until he turns 30. Then he stops completely. He never adds another dollar. The second man does nothing until he turns 30, and then he starts putting away money every single month and does not stop until he is 60. Who has more money at retirement? Most people would say the second man because he contributed for 3 decades while the first man only contributed for 1. But they would be wrong. Because of compound interest, the first man, who started a decade earlier, finishes ahead. That single decade of head start, those early years when the money had the most time to grow, made all the difference. Time is the most powerful ingredient in the compound interest equation. The wealthy know this. That is why they teach their children about investing early. That is why they set up accounts for their kids before those kids can even read. They understand that time in the market is worth more than the amount you put in. They are not smarter than you. They just started sooner and they never stopped. Now let us go deeper. Because the rich do not just use compound interest in savings accounts. The average savings account today pays almost nothing in interest. The wealthy use compound interest across multiple vehicles, and understanding these vehicles is where things get truly powerful. The first vehicle is the stock market. When you invest in a broad index fund, you are essentially buying a small piece of hundreds or thousands of companies at once. Historically, the stock market has returned roughly 10% per year on average over long periods of time. Not every year. Some years it goes up dramatically, some years it falls hard. But averaged out over decades, 10% is the number most financial educators point to. Now think about what 10% compounding does to money over 30 or 40 years. It does not just double your money. It does not just triple it. At 10% compounding annually, money doubles roughly every 7 years. So $100,000 becomes $200,000 in 7 years. Then $400,000. Then $800,000. Then $1.6 million. All without you adding a single additional dollar. That is the machine the wealthy have running in the background of their lives, constantly, silently, doubling everything they have every 7 years. The second vehicle is real estate. When a wealthy person buys a rental property, multiple things happen at once. The property itself tends to appreciate in value over time. The rental income comes in every month. And if there is a mortgage on the property, the tenants are effectively paying it down. The equity in the property compounds. The rental income can be reinvested, and the tax advantages layer on top of everything else. Real estate is compound interest in physical form, and the wealthy have known this for centuries. The third vehicle is business ownership. When you own a business that generates profit and you reinvest that profit back into the business, you are compounding at the business level. The profit generates more capacity generates more customers generate more profit, and the cycle continues. The wealthy do not just own businesses, they build systems that reinvest in themselves automatically. That is compound interest applied to enterprise. Now here is where it gets really interesting, because the rich do not just earn compound interest. They think about everything through the lens of compounding. Their skills compound. Every year they spend getting better at investing, negotiating, understanding markets, and reading financial statements makes the next year of learning easier and more effective. Their network compounds. Every powerful connection they make opens doors to more powerful connections. Their reputation compounds. Every good deal they close, every investment that pays off, every promise they keep builds a track record that attracts better opportunities at better terms. The wealthy are not just compounding money, they are compounding everything. But there is a darker side to compound interest that most people experience without even realizing it. And this is where the wealth gap really starts to make sense. Compound interest works in reverse too. When you carry credit card debt, the interest on that debt compounds against you. The average credit card charges somewhere between 18 and 24% interest annually. That is compounding in the wrong direction, eating your money at a rate that destroys wealth faster than almost anything else. The wealthy avoid high-interest debt with fierce discipline. They understand that paying 20% interest on debt while trying to earn 10% in the market is a losing equation. You cannot outrun compounding working against you. You have to eliminate it first. Student loans compound. Car loans compound. Buy now, pay later schemes compound. Every form of consumer debt has interest attached to it, and that interest compounds over time. The average person is fighting compound interest working against them while having almost no compound interest working for them. The wealthy flip that equation entirely. They minimize or eliminate high-interest liabilities, and they maximize compounding assets. That is the whole strategy. It sounds simple, but executing it requires discipline, patience, and a long-term mindset that most people never develop. Let us talk about the mindset for a moment, because this is where the real separation happens. When you understand compound interest deeply, your relationship with time changes completely. You stop thinking about what something costs today and start thinking about what that money could become in 20 or 30 years. That $20 you spend on something you do not need, it is not just $20. At 10% compounded over 30 years, it is nearly $350. Every dollar you waste is not just a dollar. It is a future fortune you are trading away for something temporary. The wealthy feel this in their bones. It changes how they spend. It changes what they value. It changes every financial decision they make. They also think about the cost of waiting. Every year you delay starting to invest is not just 1 year of lost returns. It is 1 year of compounding that never happens, multiplied across every future year. Waiting 5 years to start does not cost you 5 years of growth. It can cost you decades of compounding because those early dollars, the ones with the most time to grow, are the ones you never planted. The wealthy start immediately. They do not wait until they feel ready. They do not wait until they have a large sum to invest. They start with whatever they have, because they know the clock starts the moment you begin, and every day you wait is a day the machine is not running. Now let us talk about consistency, because consistency is the engine that makes compound interest truly unstoppable. The wealthy do not just invest once, they invest regularly. Every month, without fail, regardless of what the market is doing, they add to their positions. This strategy, sometimes called dollar cost averaging, means they buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. Over time, this smooths out the volatility and allows compound interest to do its work uninterrupted. They do not panic when the market drops. They see a drop as a sale. They buy more. And because they never sell in fear, they never lock in losses and they never exit the compounding machine at the wrong time. Most people do the opposite. They invest when the market is high and everything feels exciting. Then when the market drops and fear sets in, they sell. They buy high and sell low, constantly interrupting the compounding process, constantly resetting the clock, never allowing the machine to run long enough to show its true power. The wealthy stay in. They add more during the dips. They let decades pass. And the result is a widening gap that looks like magic but is really just mathematics applied with patience. There is one more piece to this that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important of all. The wealthy automate their investing. They do not rely on willpower. They do not wait until the end of the month to see if there is anything left to invest. They set up automatic transfers that move money into their investment accounts the moment their income arrives. They pay themselves first, automatically, before they have a chance to spend it. What you do not see, you do not miss. And what gets invested automatically compounds automatically. If you are waiting for motivation to invest, you are going to be waiting for a very long time. Motivation is temporary. Systems are permanent. The wealthy build systems that make wealth building automatic, and then they go live their lives while the machine runs quietly in the background. So here's what you do with all of this. You start today, not next month, not when you have more money, today. You find the highest interest debt you carry and you attack it with everything you have, because eliminating compounding working against you is the first move. Then you open an investment account if you do not already have one. You set up an automatic contribution, even if it starts small. You invest in broad, low-cost index funds that give you exposure to the market's historical growth. And then you do the hardest thing of all. You leave it alone. You let time do what time does. The wealthy are not using some secret strategy that is hidden from you. The strategy is public knowledge. It has been written about for decades. The difference is not information. The difference is action. The difference is starting early, staying consistent, avoiding the debt traps, and trusting the process long enough to see the curve bend in your favor. Compound interest is not a rich person's secret. It is a universal law. It works for anyone who uses it. The wealthy just decided to use it, and they decided early. Now you know how it works. The only question left is what you are going to do with that knowledge.